Hello,
Hello.
everyone. I'm Dr. Diana Bitner from True Women's Health. This is my partner.
Hi, I'm Dr. Celia Egan from True Women's Health. Dr. Bitner, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. We both are here with our holiday mugs.
Hello to all of our patients out there listening.
Mine says, put a little jingle in your belt.
Oh, mine's just the big man.
Okay,
So,
awesome. Good.
yeah.
Well, happy holidays, everyone. We're here to talk about some common questions that we get from patients around the time of the holidays when it gets so crazy, and we'd like to share them with you. Please feel free to put your own questions in the chat. We'd love to talk all things women's health and crazy holiday times. So as you put your question in, we'll just feel free to join the conversation.
Yeah. So, Dr. Bitner, you and I both know we get so many questions from women around this time because I don't know about you, but I am ridiculously busy with work and I have little kids and I'm trying to do all this family stuff. And so it can feel just so overwhelming to also have to think about our health.
It really can. And I hate it when I myself don't pay attention and I just put exercise maybe on the back plate, or I'm eating too many cookies or too much hot chocolate and, gaining that weight over the holidays. And then it's just a pain to get it off afterwards. So over the last couple of years, I've really thought about how can I go into the season and feel good, have fun, and not hurt my health in the meantime. So, we share our patient struggles, and as we figure out what to do, then we can share those answers with them.
That's right. So let's kind of go through some of these questions that we hear all the time from patients. The first question, I am so busy. Why do I need water?
So we both have lots of good tips on this, but number one, it helps with energy. When we have water, our muscles are hydrated. We know that athletes are quicker when they're well hydrated. We just have a little lift in our step, but also it can help reduce hot flashes so we don't get distracted with hot flashes on our busy day. So it's just so important to keep that water habit going. The other thing is if we stop drinking water and then we start again, then all over again, we're in the bathroom extra. So it's just to stay hydrated, stay level. And it helps also if you're having that extra cup of coffee, having that extra water will help you not get dehydrated or have a hot flash. So what do you think?
Our bodies are so beautifully complicated, and, having the right sort of hydration status is really important. And there's a lot of mechanisms put into place to sort of keep that right hydration status together. But if we don't sort of support our body, it will lean on some other mechanisms. And it's really interesting. There's actually some data around, if your hydration status isn't right, that your body can flip into more of a weight gaining state, right? Like it just has a little extra signaling to maybe say to hold on to that extra weight that we have, which none of us really want nor need. And so for that reason, it's really important to drink water. Number two, it's sometimes confusing to our brain, like hydration versus, needing fuel. And a lot of the times when we get that signal that's saying, oh my gosh, I need to eat, really our body's saying we need to drink some water.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're kind of feeling as though we're racing around, really searching for food, sometimes it can be helpful to have just a big cold glass of water. And we're like, oh, you know what? I just had lunch. I'm actually feeling okay.
Right. Well, too, when we're thirsty, I think we can crave things like ice cream, these high calorie, low fiber foods. Somebody the other day was telling me like, what, I can't have watermelon? It's so low fiber. It's high sugar. It was really bumping her blood sugar. And I'm like, are you thirsty or are you hungry for that cold watermelon? How about have a big glass of water first and then maybe half of an apple with peanut butter? And you won't be eating because you're thirsty. Yeah. So tell me about like the signals. I mean, do they get mixed up as well for hunger versus thirst?
Sometimes they really can. I mean, the drive to eat is so complex. And a lot of the times our body's just feeling down, right? So again, we talk about hydration being sort of a key to feeling uplifted and having energy. And a lot of times in our brain, the reward system gets a bit confused. And it's like, I just sort of feel down. I know eating cookies makes me feel better. Why don't I just go get, seek out some cookies that are so readily available? And in reality, maybe you just need a little bit of a boost with some water.
Totally agree. June, thank you for that comment. Love you too. So thank you so much for being here. And Mindy, this sounds like a question for you, Celia.
Yeah. Okay. I drink a lot of water, but after a while, my mouth is still dry and water isn't helping. Why is that? Sometimes, well, one, some medicines can make our mouths dry, which is, something that we should always talk about with your provider. So a lot of times it can be medications. Sometimes it can be other, dental thing, like two different toothpastes and things that are making our mouth feel dry. And then other times we sometimes need some electrolytes as well. A lot of the times we're just drinking pure water without any like sodium or potassium or other things that come with the water that our blood is actually made out of. And if we're exercising a lot, so we're losing sweat, and sweat isn't just water, it's also electrolytes. So sometimes it can be helpful to have either a meal replacement shake or an electrolyte drink, particularly around the times that we're doing a lot of sweating or really kind of using our body a lot. So a lot of times adding in electrolytes can be helpful if we kind of ruled out other medications causing dry mouth.
Awesome.
Dr. B, oh, go ahead.
No, I just said, Mindy, hopefully that was helpful.
Yeah. Dr. B, I know that, what are some tips that you give patients to like fit it in? Because women are busy, right? And we don't want to drink all 80 ounces right before we go to bed.
I think it's to think about having a schedule. So for example, sometimes coffee in the morning without that first glass of water can make your bladder more irritated. So to make sure you get that big glass of water in before that first cup of coffee. And then think about during the day when you would have time to do that. So I like to have a glass of water before the coffee, then another one in the car, another one when I get to work, because then I know once I get busy, I'm probably not going to drink again till lunch. But then at lunch, if I can get a big glass, again, the middle of the afternoon, and then in the car on the way home, boom, I've got 8 done. And then when I work out, always a glass or 2. So a lot of women will say, I'm a teacher. It's really hard because then I have got to go to the bathroom and I can't leave my classroom full of 7th graders while I run to the bathroom. So I really think if you can think in advance about timing and see if you can get a lot done in the morning or when you have a study period, to really just plan ahead. I think like lots of things, it's just being prepared. I love that if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail.
Yeah. And I also think, kind of being honest with yourself that maybe you need a better water bottle, something that seems more appealing to you than some yucky glass that you have at work, right? And kind of prioritizing it a little bit.
Exactly.
All right.
It's just a habit. You got to get it started.
On to our next question. All right. We hear these night sweats are really bumming me out with my Christmas cheer. What do I do about them?
Night sweats are tough because not only are they night sweats and women wake up with sweaty pajamas and sweaty bedclothes and we've got to change in the night or change positions or and then it covers on, covers off. Someone today said, at least in the winter, it's better because when the covers come off, the room's cooler. But who wants to wake up in the first place? So, number one is to think about triggers. So for example, a trigger, of course, can be low estrogen from perimenopause or menopause. And some women just have them around the time of their cycles when they're in perimenopause. Other women have them all the time. So, so it's thinking about estrogen as one of those triggers and then knowing options for treatment, right?
Yeah. And so obviously we are very well versed in treatment options for night sweats. And we talk a lot with our patients about some of the medication treatments that are available. And, I think a lot of people are confused that it's not just hormone replacement therapy that's available, which, we find to be a great option, but there are a lot of other medications that are available to sort of treat night sweats if they do sort of get a bit overwhelming.
Right, because those night sweats are caused generally by our thermostat being way more sensitive to temperature. So a lot of women will say, I'm tired, I'm cold, so I'm going to put on my warm jammies, my sweatshirt and my sweatpants and go to bed and I'm all snuggled up. But then what happens is very quickly, once we fall asleep, because of the sweatshirt and the blankets and maybe your bed partner or the dog gets on the bed, then all of a sudden you overheat and then wake up. A lot of women will get that first night sweat within a half an hour of going to bed. So number one trick is go to bed cold. At the time, you're not going to maybe like it, but it's just wear maybe just a t-shirt or whatever you wear to bed that's lighter than a sweatshirt, and then maybe not that heavy blanket at first. So if we can go to sleep when we're a little cool, then we're less likely to wake up with that night sweat. So just adjusting that little way can make a big difference.
And I know we talk a lot about some lifestyle stuff that we can do to minimize night sweats that can seem that I think are good reminders, particularly during this Christmas party season. So, for instance, I think sometimes overdoing the sugar and alcohol in the evening hours really can be a trigger for having night sweats.
Exactly. And so many women with the stress that come home from a busy day at work or extra meetings or shopping, and it's like, oh, I'm going to have a glass of wine. And that tasted so good. I'm going to have another glass of wine. And then maybe during the day you were a little dehydrated. Maybe you were out and about running errands and you went through the Chick-fil-A line. And so the sugar
And your
from the
neighbors,
bun.
neighbors brought you home, 3 plates of Christmas cookies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, all that adds up together to create that night sweat. So it's to think about maybe treats as a budget. I can have one or two treats, but maybe I can't have three or four. So it's thinking about, okay, this is going to be a busy day. I'm going to think in advance. I'm not going to have a glass of wine because I want to have two cookies.
Yeah.
So these are some really good tips to avoid a hot flash.
And I think sometimes it's even, we talk so much about planning, but even saying, I have these big meetings coming up. I know I'm going to be stressed. What am I going to do when I get home? Right? Just to sort of de-stress, right?
Yeah.
And maybe that is not doing every dish and probably, but maybe that's just taking 5 minutes of doing some stretching and some, I talk a lot of my patients about doing body scans, kind of just feeling where our body's at, right? Where do we have some extra tension from the day that we can sort of stretch out and have before we sort of dive into maybe some of our older habits that we fall back into, and just letting our body sort of adjust to being home for a moment.
I love that idea of a body scan. I mean, it's all about, right, mindfulness and just sitting a minute, versus we rush into the house and maybe it's just, like you said, falling into that habit. It's maybe going into a different room. It's, like I'm in my study right now. I love being in my study, just sitting in my grandma's chair just for a second before making dinner, before whatever it is. So I can just be, and then think about how I want the next couple hours to go versus getting on TikTok or getting on, something that's just mindless. And then all of a sudden it's 10 o'clock and what more did you get accomplished? So it's being efficient with time and just having that minute to reset.
Yeah. And I think, a lot of the times, kind of getting our, like as you said, going to bed a little bit cold, but we don't sometimes think about our sheets and pajamas as being like a valuable resource, but they can be.
They can be. And there's definitely like sweat wicking pajamas. There's, wearing not like a heavy cotton t-shirt that's just going to soak up the moisture and stick it next to your skin, but having something that's a little bit more breathable. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, it's sort of like, I even find a lot of like the pajamas now feel like they're almost like plastic, right? And it just feels like I can't breathe at all in some of them. And so just kind of paying attention to some of those things and really thinking about kind of what we're wearing to bed and kind of honoring that and sort of cherishing our sleep.
Exactly. Sleep is everything. I think if it were a drug, we couldn't afford it, right? It's just
Probably
such a
not.
critical, right? Sleep is everything in terms of not gaining that extra weight, in terms of appetite, in terms of how we're coping and our brain chemicals. So sleep is critical. So we really need to protect that.
Yeah. Okay. Number 3, my mind is racing and I'm finding it impossible to complete my holiday to-do list. I feel like we hear this a lot about this racing mind.
We do. And this racing mind, I think, is too when we just have so many things on our mind. We can't focus on one thing, and then it just creates this stress. So one thing that I do is write them down, just make a worry list. I think a lot of us already do this, so it might sound kind of silly, but it's just to write them down and then to plan out in the next couple of weeks when they're going to get done. So it's not paralysis by analysis, where we're just like constantly thinking about all the things we're worried about versus actually making a plan with those things.
And I think something that I learned sort of in diving deeper into the menopause world is that this can be sort of a normal function as we go through perimenopause, and that women, it's not just, one woman that doesn't have her act together, that it's part of like these huge fluxes of estrogen that are happening to our bodies as our ovaries are trying to figure out what to do sort of month to month. And I was really surprised that that's the mind racing part and sort of our slew of thoughts being kind of swirled around and feeling anxious is kind of can be part of the menopause process.
It can, and in perimenopause, what happens, like you said, our ovaries kind of it's sputtering, it's trying to figure it out. So it'll make way too much estrogen and then not enough. And when there's way too much estrogen with 1 or 2 or 3 baby eggs that get turned on, what happens is women can just ruminate more or become a little bit more obsessive compulsive or feel like they're going to cry easy, and there's breast tenderness and bloating and so it's, again, to take stock of where we are in our cycle, to know we're not crazy, to know that there's a reason behind it. And again, slow it down and ask lots of questions, ask for help.
Yeah. And, this is sort of a basis of a lot of the mindfulness stuff that the research that's come out that's really interesting is clicking the brain into that different place, right? And so ruminating is that thought process where we're bing bonging from thought to thought to thought. I'm sure every woman can say in the middle of the night they've woken up, right, and just had that thought train go from ding, da, ding, da, ding, da, ding, and it can just feel very terrible. And so the more you can do even during the day to sort of do body scans and sort of center your mind, the better off your brain is even when you're sleeping. And it can be really helpful to remember to take that 5 extra minutes of gratefulness journals we talk about, right? Mind body connection stuff, body scans, anything that sort of deep breathing. We do a lot of talking about anything that sort of kind of is centering yourself back after a really busy day.
I love the research around the power of gratitude to get us out of that flight or fight state. So this is great work by Dr. Benson. It's a really good book written in 1975 called The Relaxation Response. And Dr. Benson, studied how can people calm their mind. And he did lots of surveys and really figured out that the main thing that people do is think about something they're grateful for. It's like, so grateful for you could cry. And thinking about what you're grateful for gets you out of that flight or fight, reconnects you to your smart part or your logical part of your brain, and allows you to problem solve. So a lot of times if you wake up in the middle of the night and your mind is just racing, the trick really is to break the cycle, get out of bed, maybe go to the bathroom, drink some water, sit somewhere outside of the living room, or outside of the bedroom rather, maybe in the living room or in a chair in your room, and just think about what you're so grateful for. And then close your mouth, open your eyes, stare, and just breathe. Just stare at a spot and just breathe. And so by doing that, we're out of flight or fight. We're getting back into that calm spot. We go back to bed and we're out. And like Marla talks about the most amazing pajamas she's talking about in the chat by Soma. So not to advertise. But anyway, so then we can go back to bed and then we can get some good sleep. But during the day, the same thing. Let's say that people are bombarding you. Let's say you're even just going to the grocery store and everyone's yelling at you, hey, can you get this? Can you get that? If you're stressed at that time, you're not going to remember anything anyone's telling you. So it's just to have that calm, deep breathing, have a minute of gratitude and get back to it.
Yeah. And I tell a lot of my patients, it's funny because we were talking about the logic part of your brain. When you're doing that ruminating, it may feel like you're doing something productive, but you're actually not. And you have to give yourself permission to sort of leave that thought thread and do this, because it can feel in our heads that if I don't keep thinking about this, somehow I'm going to miss out, right? Like I'm going to miss out on what I was thinking about. But in reality, you're actually not doing any critical thinking about said topic. And it's okay to sort of give yourself permission to say, right, I'm going to leave this thought thread and I'm going to think about all the things I'm grateful for. Maybe I'll just even do some deep breathing, or I'll do a body scan. And then now I'm ready to do some critical thinking, because that's really what all of us women are trying to do, right? Is to keep being these amazing super women. So give yourself permission, if you're in that ruminating state, to sort of let that one go and then regroup in a way that sort of works for you.
100%. And the other thing is, when we're stuck in flight or fight and we're ruminating, we're using up all our brain chemicals that we can use on other stuff.
Yeah.
If there's too many unresolved stressors in our life, it can just make it really hard to cope with those important things. So we don't want to waste energy on things that, again, waste on thought trains that don't help us.
Yeah. All right. So our next question, how do I avoid all this holiday weight gain with Christmas cookies everywhere? Oh my goodness. I'm right there with everyone else. I have to tell this just quick funny story. I was speaking with, Dr. Dr. Bitner, who knows who this is, but one of our personal trainers or someone that I lean on to like help me get healthy. And he looked at me and he said, so, what are you going to, this was last Christmas. He said, so what are you going to, how do you avoid holiday weight gain? And I looked at him and I'm like, sir, I am an obesity medicine doctor. I don't need any help. Right. And then flash forward to like, December 15th, I'm up 10 pounds and I'm like, oh, yep, it comes for the best of us, right? Even obesity medicine doctors.
Right. And yeah, and myself, like every time I might plan, but the more and more I learn, it's something I've learned from you. It's just more and more fiber. So what you've taught me is if I'm going to go to a Christmas party, choose the thing on the buffet table that has the most fiber. So I'm going to choose, maybe a Triscuit cracker over a Ritz. I'm going to choose, of course, all the vegetables I can. Yeah. And I'm also going to try to have some protein, like let's say hummus with my Triscuit before I have a cookie, before I have a glass of wine.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah. And sometimes in our head, it can be not helpful just to give out no's, right? No to the Christmas cookie, no to grandma's pumpkin pie, no to that eggnog latte. No, no, no. And I've talked a lot about patients about saying, what are we going to say yes to? Right? Mm-hmm. We all kind of have those things that we're going to say yes to. What are those things? Pick 3 or 4 things this holiday season that you're like, I'm having grandma's pumpkin pie. I'm having my eggnog, a giant eggnog latte from Starbucks, right? What do you want? And then say no to everything else, right? Because in your head, you are going to have those things that you want. And maybe that, leftover donut that's on the counter after the holiday party, maybe that's not really what you want because you've already kind of acknowledged to yourself what you want, right? So you can kind of hold off on that other stuff. But if you're going to eat that pumpkin pie, then you got to eat it, right?
Yeah,
we're not talking about politics at the holiday party. We're not doing it in front of the TV. We're going to sit there and we're going to enjoy it and smell it and taste it and love it and really have that pumpkin pie or whatever sort of,
and have gratitude at the same time.
Correct. Right. And really relive all the things that we love about it. Right. So a lot of the times when we have that special food that's there, it's not the sweetness on our tongue or, the flavors on our tongue that we really want. We really want to be flashed back to my grandmother's kitchen when every holiday I'd had pumpkin pie. And as a young girl, I was thinking about the magic of Christmas and I want all that flooded back in. And that's okay. Right. But you got to be able to relive that. So your brain's like, check. We had pumpkin pie so that you have some and then you're able to kind of move on to the next chapter. And it allows your brain to really turn down the other kind of stuff that really you don't really want in general. So Stacy says, during this hectic time of year, do you believe in following the 80-20 rule where you follow your health plan 80% of the time and show yourself grace the rest of the time? Stacey, I think that's a really interesting question. Mm-hmm. So I love the idea. I think what I love about the 80-20 rule is the 20 piece allows you some freedom, right? Because again, I think the no's of no, never, I'm never gonna have dessert again, right? Doesn't tend to work, right? We've been doing that for a long time now. And in general, that doesn't work. My one catch, right, is a lot of these foods that we love, right? So a lot of the times is either just pure sugar or fat and sugar together, like a piece of cheesecake, right? Can set us a bit off on a spiral that can lead us down a pathway of consuming more and more and more. So you have to be a little honest with yourself when you're talking about that 20 rule, right? You have to say, again, I like the idea of picking a few things that you really love, and that's part of your 20%. And saying, this is what I'm really going to have, but then sort of giving yourself permission to say, you know what, for the rest of the time, I'm not going to do that. I also think that we can, as Dr. Bitner was talking about, really prep ourselves for the times when we know we're going to have some extra sugar and maybe sugar and fat together, like something like a dessert. And we do that a lot with what Dr. Bitner was saying, was we recommend getting in a ton of fiber beforehand, also some protein, because believe it or not, if I have a cookie on a completely empty stomach, my blood sugars will be different than if I had a bunch of raw veggies first and then the cookie. And it's not so much that we don't want that cookie taste on our tongue. It's that we don't need our liver and the rest of our organs to see those huge blood sugar spikes. So there's kind of ways to basically minimize the blow that you get from said cookie. So anytime you're going to be in a place where maybe it's part of the 20%, still stick to some of the rules of the 80%, right? Trying to get some fiber in beforehand, trying to get in some lean protein. I definitely wouldn't go into anything where you're starving. Being starving and having eaten for hours, you're really just not going to be able to make a good food choice. Just everything in our neurochemistry and biochemistry is not going to lead you to that place. So, kind of prep yourself. If I'm going to a holiday party, I definitely, would have some breakfast, and I would have maybe a protein shake before I go, just so that I'm not going in completely starving and then not able to make any good choice at all.
And I think the other thing is thinking about what are the other joys at the Christmas party, because there can be a sense of, right, FOMO, right? Like, what if I don't have that cookie? I'm going to miss out. But it's thinking about, no, I'm going to go talk to so-and-so, or I'm just going to like look around and just have some joy about I'm here at this festive time and all the things that we're grateful for. So it's like thinking, why else am I here other than just sampling all this? And again, just really savoring what we do have, so we're not constantly thinking about what we're not having. The other thing I think about the life plan is exercise. I always think about busy holiday times like finals week in college. Like, I can't work out an hour every day, but can I work out a half an hour? Can I work out 15 minutes? So it's like, maybe I won't do everything in a busy week or a busy day, but I'm going to do something. Mm-hmm. So it just keeps me going versus, I don't have time to work out today. No, I'm going to do 15 minutes on the bike. I'm going to do a 15-minute yoga. I'm going to lift weights, even if I just do 10 minutes of arms. So it just keeps me in the habit of it. So it's not like it goes away for a week and then I come back and I try to come back to it. And then now I'm more out of shape and it's harder to get back into it. Mm-hmm. It's a challenge, but it's so rewarding.
Yeah. And I think and also being self-forgiving that we're only doing the 10 minutes, right? Because I can feel so like defeatist to say, oh, like I know I should do that, the 150 minutes a week or whatever recommendation, but be like, no, I did 10 minutes. I'm a busy, wife, mom, employee, right? Partner. I did this, right? And be happy with where you're at, even if it's a shorter period of time than you were hoping for.
I agree. June's got a really good question for you, Celia.
All right. What might be good choices to traveling to other places during the holidays where you're staying in hotels and unfamiliar with the foods? In general, traveling is tough. So June, I feel for you. You definitely want to try to find like a protein supplement, either like protein bars or protein shakes that may be helpful, that you like the taste, that are not too much sugar, to kind of have on hand. And a lot of times those can be really helpful to just have as a backup, right? If breakfast is only donuts, at least you have a protein shake kind of packed away in your bag that you can easily, throw some powder together and make that happen. It's also helpful to kind of lean on protein sources. So, deconstructing sandwiches or getting, bigger, like, omelets and things at restaurants can be really helpful because you don't always have to eat what's on the menu, right? And you can sort of deconstruct what's there to get kind of what you need.
So Celia, sorry. Tell us about the time you were with your boys and everyone was starving, and what kind of sub did you eat? And you had a glucose monitor on at the time. Yeah. What happened then?
So I have 3 young boys, right? Little kids. And we were stuck on a tarmac after we landed for 3 hours. So as you can imagine, being on an airplane with little kids for 3 hours on the tarmac, we were starving. It was like a 60-minute flight. So I didn't bring any other food. And we like raced to like a local sub place. And I just remember I was so overwhelmed and hungry that I was like, give me everything on this sub, right? No soda, no chips. And I was wearing my CGM or looking at my blood sugars, and it just really went through the roof. So it was one of those, it was such a good reminder of slowing down, right? And even just, like I said, deconstructing, I probably would have been fine with, taking off the top bread. And I think another thing that's really big with restaurants is the sauce. A lot of sauces and dressings have a lot of hidden things, a lot of hidden sugars, and fats. And I really think that you'd be doing yourself a great service by just asking for the sauce always on the side. And you can add it if you like it or if you think it's too sweet, but really just pulling out the sauces can be really helpful to sort of staying on track and not going getting to a rye. The other thing is these places may have like some amazing dish, right? Like they may have truffle fries, or they may have, I don't know, something else, the best bread, split those things. I don't think they're a hard no, but like not every person at your table probably needs truffle fries, and kind of have that eating partner where you're like, all right, we'll get a small thing of fries and I'll have a few of these amazing delicacies that we have that, that you want at this restaurant, but don't sit there with a giant pile of fries on your plate and think that you're not going to eat them. I know I definitely couldn't turn that down. So, kind of throwing up these blockers and barriers, and so that you can acknowledge that you had whatever kind of fun thing was in that area and that you were able to experience food, because food is such an important part of traveling, but also still kind of staying on track.
And again, stay hydrated, get your sleep.
Yes.
But those are really good tips.
We fully acknowledge, June, that it's so tough traveling. I mean, in airports and stuff, there just aren't as many good choices. Although, albeit, I think they're getting
much better.
They're getting better.
I traveled a bit in November, and in the airports, they now have these like a vending machine for farm fresh. And so I had a chia seed pudding with almond milk that was yummy. I had like this Cobb salad with, it was really fresh. And so again, it's just being creative. Unfortunately, it's more expensive when it's in the airport, but there is fresh food. You just have to look for it a bit more.
Yeah.
Catherine's got a good question.
What high protein drinks do you recommend? So in general, there's difference between protein supplements, which are drinks that have protein, and then meal replacements, which are protein drinks that have everything you need for your day-to-day nutrition. So you could skip a meal, for instance, right? You get all the micronutrients and fiber and macronutrients that you need. In general, protein powder is yucky. So it's rare that people just sell protein powder by itself, and different companies have different formulations of covering it up either with sugar, artificial sweeteners, different types of sweeteners, different flavors to sort of make it tasty. So everyone has a different palate, and you may like different flavors. We have kind of two that we rely on. So we have Robard products that we sell at the office. Those are meal replacements, and they're designed to help lose weight. And I know Dr. Bitner drinks a lot of isogenic shakes. So those are our two.
This is my dinner tonight, my strawberry, and this is the protein. There's not a lot of sugar, and I put some strawberries in it. So it's good to have options, that it's a full meal replacement, and I'll be very satisfied. This is like 40 grams of protein. But again, it's finding one that has low sugar, and again, looking for those ingredients. If you can say and spell everything that's in it, just super important to have natural products that don't have a lot of fillers, and being able to have them as a backup.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the commercial stuff that's available, just look at the sugar and make sure that you can find the lowest sugar brand sort of possible. I think they're getting better in terms of commercial products, but you just don't want to have a product that has like 30 grams of sugar on top of the protein. In general, it's just not helpful.
Agreed.
All right. Rachel had a question. What is our
probably each have a favorite?
Yeah, dish. So I'm a huge veggie tray fan, just because I feel like no one ever has veggie trays, and I know that I have my own personal thing to lean on. I also love like kale pomegranate salads with like nuts in them. That's one of my other favorite go-to salads. Like a kale, I think it's, if you look up kale, pomegranate, and goat cheese, it's like a very good salad that you can have that's super fibrous and yummy, and those pomegranates add that little bit of flavor.
Yeah, I like to make like a chicken Caesar with kale. I just love that kind of a salad. So I've got my protein with the chicken and the kale, lots of fiber and lots of yummy, some Parmesan cheese with good calcium. And I love some good anchovy paste in the Caesar dressing. So I love that. Or if it's more of a potluck where it's, hot food, I love to make roasted sweet potatoes with a little bit of maple syrup over, and then some chopped walnuts and pecans over the top. So I'm still getting that high fiber. It's not the marshmallows and the brown sugar, but it's having that higher protein potato starch. And I also make a brown rice, wild rice with cranberry and pine nut casserole sort of thing. So again, it's just really trying to have that fiber. And so I can have a really healthy, go-to. So we could certainly put some recipes up on our page, but
yeah. Yeah, well, we definitely should do that. I think, anytime we're just adding in vegetables, there's so many great recipe banks now. And if you just type in like, healthy mac and cheese, like a lot of times they're adding so many vegetables to these dishes that even that's sort of a win, right? Cutting out half of the simple carbohydrates, adding in high fibrous vegetables, kind of replacing, that's, definitely a good position to be in.
Yeah, and brown rice pasta is a great substitute. People won't even know it's not a white
Yeah,
flour pasta.
I know. I've snuck it by my kids a couple of times. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
All
That's
right.
good.
Kathy says she loves the new Metro Shakes, which is the Robard product. Yes, I think they're pretty tasty. And they come prepackaged, so they really are a helpful backup plan if you are traveling or if you just don't have anything else that you need to eat, or if you're headed to the mall and you know that there aren't going to be any good choices. It's hard to smell those cookies and things in the mall and not sort of think about kind of nibbling a taste if you're starving.
Sounds good. All right, Judy, I see that recipes sound good. So we'll
Yeah.
maybe even ask Anna to throw some up. So look at our Facebook page soon and we'll get some recipes up for our favorites.
Yeah. Okay. So we're moving on to our next section of our 5 take-home points.
So
Go ahead.
no, I really like the first one that you said is that, number one, are you going to go into them?
Yeah. So number
Yeah.
one, you are not alone in your struggle. I mean, how many women do we see and hear from, right? That we're all going through kind of the same thing.
Yeah. And even I was talking with the patient recently. She was talking about, I wake up every night at 2 a.m. And I said, number one, think of all the other women that are waking up with you right now at 2 a.m. because across the globe they are. That just seems to be that magic time when we complete a couple of our sleep cycles and we get to a light point in our sleep, and then anything can wake us up. Maybe a night sweat or our partner snoring, and just anything that kind of wakes us up, then we're up and then our mind starts going. So number one, say hello to all the other women in the globe that are awake.
Yeah.
You are not alone.
And you are not gone crazy when your mind is racing. You are not lazy when you've gained a little weight, right? This is sort of part of what's happening to us as our bodies sort of are changing with menopause. So definitely know that you are not alone and you're not missing some one little thing, right? That you forgot about. And Maria said, yes, I wake up at 2 and I'm up until at least 4. I know, Maria, we feel you.
Yeah, I think, is it Maria
Oh,
or
I'm sorry.
Marla? I can't tell. Yeah,
Yeah, sorry.
Marla. But Marla, the biggest trick again is break the cycle. Get up, get out of bed, go to the bathroom, drink some water, and then think about what you're thankful for. Do your metered breathing, feel yourself come down, and then go to bed. And if you lay there and say, well, that was stupid, that didn't work, get up and do it again. We've got to retrain our brain. If you're used to being awake in the bed, you're more likely to be awake in the bed. So break the cycle, and that can really help.
All right. Number 2, know your phase of ovarian function. This is definitely something that I've been learned, and I love thinking about it because I think it's so important for not only women to know, but even medical professionals to know for their patients. What is your women patient's phase of ovarian function?
It's just critical because then you know what to expect. If I'm in perimenopause, then I know I'm more likely to have maybe a heavier period. I'm going to get a couple days of night sweats. Before my period, I'm going to get a little cranky, moody, irritable. And so it's just to know that number one, I'm not crazy. I know what to expect. And maybe then I am going to take a little more time for myself. I'm going to make sure and prioritize my sleep. So if you know what's coming, then you can better deal with it.
Yeah, and we know even from a metabolic standpoint, things are changing during this period of time on average. And so we have to be a little more aggressive with thinking about our healthcare plan. So definitely know as a patient sort of where you're at, and your medical provider should be able to kind of answer that question for you. Okay.
Exactly.
Number 3, remember your seeds to help minimize symptoms. We love our seeds.
We love our seeds, the 7 essential elements of daily success. And we'll have this link to the seeds book. It's on our website, and that will be right in the chat. But you can go to this link. A lot of women will actually print this off and post it on their refrigerator or post it on the mirror in the bathroom to just remember to go through. And one way that I use the seeds is when I get a symptom. Let's say I get a night sweat or I get a hot flash. I'm taking my estrogen. I'm mostly doing pretty well with my seeds, but I'll go through the list in my head. Did I drink my water? Did I get my sleep last night? So it's a way that I can remind myself these things really do make a difference for how I feel.
And I think that sometimes it can feel so overwhelming to have another to-do list, but really, I love the phrase, these are really just gentle whispers, right? Like it's not a finger wag that you have to, it's more, okay, did we do this? And just it allows sort of quick reminders for your mind to reflect on if you feel as though you just don't know what else to do. And Kathy
Exactly.
says, sometimes it helps if I go down to the couch and lay down and not just laying in bed. Absolutely. Sort of breaking that routine, getting out of bed and maybe just, shifting and going to a different place.
Dr. Egan, what I just love is that, we all have our tips and tricks, and this is such a community. We now in the office are having Tuesday talks at least once a month, and people come in and our patients, like everyone helps each other. It's like we all have our tips, we all have things that we've learned and we can share. So you all, I just love you guys sharing what's worked for you so we can help each other.
Yeah, that's great. All right. Tip number 3, you are in control of your food choices. Sometimes at holiday parties, when we have guests, if we're a guest in someone's home, it can feel as though we literally have no control over our choices. That's not true, actually, right? We are in control of our food choices. And just because everyone's having dessert, you don't have to have dessert, right? You can have it in front of you. Maybe you can take a little nibble if you want to, but you don't have to. You don't have to finish your plate, right? And it can feel just like a lot of pressure to be in these situations. And then what ends up happening is we feel all this pressure. Maybe we'll consume extra food or extra sugar more than we wanted to. And then we're flooded with shame and guilt. It's okay. Know that you are in control of some of these food choices. And that if you don't want to have extra dessert or any sort of cookie, you're allowed to make that decision. And it's okay to throw some of these things away, protect yourself from that constant just thinking only about those cookies on your counter if you really feel like that would put you in a better, mental place.
Exactly. And I think the same goes for alcohol. So many people
Yes.
say just the peer pressure of going to a party. And if it's like, I'm not drinking tonight, and then everyone asks you, like, well, why aren't you drinking? What's wrong? Why aren't you drinking? And
Right.
so, with alcohol, sometimes it can be nice just the ceremony, right? To have the glass and feel
Mhm.
festive. What's wrong with having this much wine and this much club soda and make a spritzer? Or if you like a mixed drink, just a splash of alcohol and mostly club soda,
Yeah.
or just club soda.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't
Right.
matter. So it's just knowing that you're in control of that, and it's okay to really like have a plan and then stick to it and not feel that pressure.
Did I mention I quit the Clean Plate Club? All right, June. That is so great and so empowering to sort of to feel that you're in control of that one food choice. So I feel like that's great.
Yeah, and those are just old voices, right? Maybe of your mother, that's her voice is still in your head. Clean your
Yeah.
plate. And
Yeah.
so it's so great that you can now, as we're adults, we don't have to have that voice in our head anymore.
Yeah. And in the same way that you're in control of your food is almost in the opposite direction of saying, no one said that I'm allowed to have cheesecake. It's okay if you want that one piece of cheesecake. That it will
Mhm,
be okay, right?
mhm.
And and you are in control of your food choices. And of course, like I don't know if anyone's going to make it to a healthier path with cheesecake, but they're definitely going to have a better time, right? I always make a joke that like if someone told me I could never have, they never have dessert again, I don't know. Like I'm gonna have dessert again. That's going to happen, but I'm gonna choose when I'm gonna have those things, and I'm gonna make that choice, not sort of, just because they're there and the cookies are calling my name on the counter,
Right.
or just because everyone's having dessert at a restaurant.
Speaking of desserts, the recipe that Anna put up on our Facebook page last year, I still make it. It's the black bean brownies. And everyone, they are to die for. You have to make them. It's with agave and black beans and cocoa powder. They are just so yummy, high fiber, low sugar, and really yummy. So there are lots of options. And think about the substitutions that we can make for things that we love.
Yeah. Okay. Number 5, know your options for treatments of symptoms and weight changes. So there's, a lot of great medicines that are out there to help women with hot flashes, weight gain, different metabolic changes that are happening. If those things are present in your life, please talk to your provider about them. We're pretty well versed in all that and all the latest and greatest that are coming out. And it's definitely worth a medical review to review some of those options.
Well, I even think about I have just seen a bunch of women lately who didn't know, but we've diagnosed with pre-diabetes. And so for women who actually have blood sugars staying too high, or have pre-diabetes, it can create cravings that otherwise could, if we treat the pre-diabetes, then it helps with the cravings, it helps with the weight gain. So again, everyone, it's so important to make sure that you're tested for these conditions so we can actually get on top of them and get ahead of them so they don't take over.
Yeah. And Lisa just sort of made a comment. I recently received a session of acupuncture, and a pleasant surprise benefit is that my desire and cravings for alcohol is simply gone. Interesting how the body works that way, huh?
It really is. Thanks for sharing that. Hey,
Yeah.
Lisa, I hope you're well.
All
But
right. So we're going
yeah,
to move to another fun section. So it's Christmas. We're all asking for presents, Dr. B.
yes,
Everyone's asking us to know what we want for Christmas,
and
right?
so
So we made a Christmas list for everyone, some other things that people could ask for. All right.
so yeah, and I like well, first of all, go ahead, the first one.
Okay. A new water bottle. I think that water bottles can be expensive, right? And so in our head, we're kind of like, am I going to spend all this money on this brand new water bottle? But there's some really fancy ones out there, and they keep your water nice and cold. And there's these fancy straws, and they're really nice. And if you're really struggling to get in water, get a new water bottle and really make it something pretty and cool that you like and that you're happy to carry around. Or maybe it's just ergonomic and it fits in your new bag, or something that makes drinking water very easy. So I think that would be a great thing to do.
I do too. Plus, I need one that doesn't spill in the car. So I need one with a really good lid and one that cleans out well so we can keep it clean and healthy. So a new water bottle is good. I know someone mentioned June just ordered a cooling pillow. So that certainly goes along with a nice set of sheets or pajamas and maybe a cooling pillow that can help you not have that hot flash.
Yeah. I mean, nice sheets are worth, more weight than gold, right? Especially if they help you sort of get that good night's sleep. It may be worth sort of asking for that from Santa. All right. Number 3, maybe a gym pass or a workout app membership. We've talked a lot about, we like the Peloton app just because it's so versatile and we've both used it.
Yeah,
there's a lot of fun apps out there now.
There really are. And then, maybe it's a session with a trainer. It's a session to kind of become accountable or get a good plan. If you go to the gym and you really don't know where to start, do you spend money on a session or two with a trainer? Of course, we both love Mitch at Grip Gym and all of his trainers, but wherever it works, like have that session or two just to kind of get started, to know what works for your body. And it can be a really good way to start. So
yeah. And it could be even a short-term thing. So, a lot of the times I talk to my patients, what we're doing in terms of working out in January is different than June, right? Michigan is a versatile weather place. So maybe it's just for 3 months, right? Where it's snowy and icy. And maybe this just allows you to walk around the track and you can just have a safe, warm place to work out. And that's okay too. So sometimes it can be helpful for, just to have a workout pass or something to kind of get you moving and exciting and fresh.
Right. And your point of working out outside, maybe it's snowshoes, maybe it's those trackers to put underneath your shoes so you don't slip on the ice, so you can go for a walk and not worry about slipping and falling on the ice. Last year I got cross-country skis, and I so hope that we get some good snow so I can get out either at Pigeon Creek or up in North Muskegon and really get out and even just I love a nighttime cross-country ski. So
yeah, and find something you love doing. I think if you're not a gym rat, that's totally fine, right? But maybe there's something else, maybe Pilates would be your gym or a dance class, anything that just really kind of gets you excited to move your body. And it's totally fine if, a gym isn't your thing that you want to do, and just finding that one thing that you think would be really fun.
Exactly. And I was very excited last year to get a Peloton t-shirt. And so I could feel like I was part of the crowd while I'm on my bike in my basement, right? So,
all right. Okay. Another gift, a nice set of knives. I mean, I know I've spoken to Anna, but having a good set of knives really is a game changer with meal prepping and getting stuff together.
Totally agree. I have a nice sharp knife. I have a knife sharpener, and I just love, like, I love the old-fashioned way of cutting my onions myself, my celery, having a serrated knife for tomatoes. It just makes all the difference, because if you're doing high fiber food, it takes a little bit more to cut through it, right?
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's thinking about having a good set of knives.
Yeah. And, we talked to some people and they just really loathe cooking. And, the fact of the matter is, it's hard to eat healthy unless you're doing some of your own cooking, right? And so do something to make it a little bit more exciting. Ask for a nice fancy set of knives and really try some new recipes and just see that there may be something, once it becomes a little easier and more flawless, that maybe you do really love it, right? And just give it another shot just to see if that'd be something that really makes sense and can add some more joy to kind of that time that you've maybe not had as much of a fun time doing.
Exactly. And I think about cooking as just a way to like let my mind work on stuff that I'm thinking about. It's just mindless, but then the result is I have this fresh, yummy, meals with lots of colors and flavors and fiber. And, it's just it's a stress reliever. At the same time, I'm doing something good for myself and whoever I'm at the dinner table with. So it's just a really good time to reset, and a nice set of knives is
All right.
really helpful.
Well, Dr. B, speaking of a good time, know that what everyone would love, which we would highly recommend, right, is some new sex toys. There's so many new fun things that are out there now.
There are, and so many thoughts racing through my mind. What can we say in Facebook Live? But I ask many of our patients, "Are you in the lucky 30?" And lucky 30 means that you can have an orgasm without needing a sex toy. 70% of women, this would be a really important part of your experience. So don't be shy. And hopefully soon we'll be having a selection at True. So you don't have to go to a store. You don't have to go searching on the website. And so we can have sex toys, vibrators at the office that you can be comfortable looking at in the privacy of the exam room, so you don't have to go shopping and not know what you're looking at. So this is a really important part of pleasure, of intimacy, and definitely should be explored. And we just have to get more comfortable talking about this.
Yeah. And, one of my patients, who was a woman who was in her 50s, said, "You have to tell young ladies about sex toys." She's like, "I went like most of my life, not knowing about this. And if you could," I want 2 new sex toys rather than knives. I'm probably in your boat too.
That's awesome.
But if you could tell young ladies, like, just what a great tool this is to sort of get pleasure and for women to even understand their own bodies and how helpful that can be, right? So, and then that allows you to connect with your partner. So if you're ever shy, we are not shy about this. We love talking to patients about this. We have recommendations, and we can kind of walk you through what that would look like in terms of buying it. I know Kara, our pelvic floor therapist is, can definitely help you out in this department as well. And please don't feel shy about it. We would love to talk to anybody who was interested in something like this.
Exactly. And I do have lots of patients who will say, "But what if my partner finds out? What if they see it? They'll think maybe they're not adequate, or maybe they're not enough, or I don't want them. I want this sex toy." That is so not the case. If you
I can promise you it's not the case. Yes.
Yeah. If we survey partners, let's say, partners are surveyed without their other around, they're like, "No, that would be really cool. I just want to be included in the process. I don't want to be left out." So it's good to use to understand your own body, but then it can just be a way to add some new spice to the event. You've got to keep your sense of humor and just talk about it, have fun with it, and remember, what is sex? It's pleasure and it's intimacy.
Yeah. And it's funny, I as someone who used to take care of men, when we would talk about, sexual health, the word that came up time and time again, which is so interesting, was connection. In particular for male partners, that's all they wanted. They just want to connect, right? And if this gets you excited and it's a fun new thing and that opens up that connection door, then I think that would probably be welcomed. Again, we are more than happy to talk more about it in detail if you ever had any kind of personal questions, and we could help steer you in the direction of what that would look like.
Awesome.
All
I
right.
love that comment. So true. And we'll go from sex toys to food containers.
Yeah.
But it really does make a difference. One trick that I just believe in is dinner being more of a protein vegetable meal. But when there's other people at the dinner table making that healthy carb, let's say sweet potato fries or brown rice, but then I'll package it in a food container right as I clean up dinner and I take it to lunch to work for lunch the next day. So it's having those containers just makes it that much easier.
Yeah, I think they can feel sort of a bit pricey when you're thinking about them like individually, but again, they're totally worth it when you're not buying, takeout every day or having to order out lunch. In the long run, it really does sort of make sense.
And I love the glass containers because then I can heat in the microwave in them and I don't feel guilty that I'm using plastic and I'm not using as many Ziploc bags. So having those glass Pyrex containers with a really durable lids, then I can just wash them and use them over and over.
Yeah. All
So
right. So we've had so many comments. Lisa, thank you for Forks Over Knives has some great recipes that are really helpful. And Kathy said it's also okay to tell your partner, I'm a little shy, but let's do it together. I love it.
that's right.
Yes, togetherness.
That's
All right. All right. We've already been chatting for almost an hour. So
I can hardly believe it.
I know. We'll quickly talk about questions to ask your primary care doctor. So we realize there's people here who listen that aren't actually from the state of Michigan and who aren't part of our practice. So we just want to make sure that you are getting the best care and you have some questions to bring back to your primary care provider or any provider. So question 1, what is my phase of ovarian function?
I really think this should just be in every patient's assessment. So for those of you who have seen a provider who uses an electronic medical record, is to go in and you'll see yourself described. You're a 52-year-old female. So I think it should say right in that line, early perimenopause, late perimenopause, early menopause. It's just so important that you can ask that question and have it answered. And there are ways, very easy ways to figure out where you are.
Yeah, great. Number 2, what are my resources to help support my healthy lifestyle choices? So, we hope that your primary care doctor has basically the knowledge that lifestyle choices are really a part of a modern medical treatment plan to prevent and treat chronic disease. And, I would inquire about what do I have at my disposal? Maybe seeing a nutritionist. Is there any like exercise or physical therapists that they would maybe recommend me seeing to sort of get back in my exercise plan? Are there any like therapists to help out with some maybe stress management? Maybe there's a mindfulness group sort of around in their medical system around town that they'd recommend. Kind of really think about where your barriers are to making healthy lifestyle choices and seeing if there's any support systems kind of around your area that your primary care doctor knows about and trusts.
I love that because sometimes, it's so important to ask. And a lot of times providers won't want to talk about something much if they don't have an answer. So it's okay, to say to them, it's okay if you don't know different lifestyle options. What are my resources? Where do you go? Where does the staff go? Just tell me. It's okay that you don't know everything, but I need to know this for myself.
Yeah, totally. All right. Number 3, am I a candidate for hormone replacement therapy?
Such an important question to be able to ask. At True, we're all menopause certified providers. And it's so important either to seek out someone who is certified, a certified menopause practitioner, but to be able to ask this question. And then it's okay to ask, what is your training in this? A lot of times there's not time for every provider to be trained in all the different options. So it's so important that you have a sense of their training. So it's to know that they really have a good knowledge base behind their answer.
Yeah. All right. Number 4, am I a candidate for weight loss medications? So this is a conversation for a different day, but the weight loss world has really been blown up over the past 12 months with some of these newer medications that are coming out that are quite effective and safe. And we're really excited what the next year will sort of hold in terms of coverage and what that looks like. So patients who are candidates for any sort of weight loss medication, we speak in terms of BMI. So anyone who has a BMI over 30 or a BMI over 27 with a comorbidity such as diabetes or high cholesterol or high blood pressure, or obstructive sleep apnea are the current candidates for weight loss medication. Of course, there's different scenarios that maybe not every person fits into that box that we could definitely talk through. Some primary care doctors, such as myself, are very versed in using weight loss medications that are safe. But you can also seek out a weight loss obesity medicine provider. Going through the American Board of Obesity Medicine, they have a provider list that can sometimes be helpful to find a obesity medicine doctor in your area if you would be a candidate for weight loss medications. And, if you're, struggling to sort of get into a rhythm with losing weight.
Great tips. And I see that Missy put the link to our True Women's Health weight journey. So,
Yes, yeah.
It's showing what a program can look like. Again, if you're in Michigan, we're available for you. If not, it's
actually Michigan and Illinois.
Michigan. Oh, that's right. You are,
yes.
You are licensed in the state
yes,
of
Illinois. Yeah.
So it's knowing what you deserve.
Yeah. And as I again, this is sort of, please stay tuned with us because we're going to be talking a lot about some of the newer weight loss drugs that are in the works of being approved and supply being available. They're really exciting in terms of weight loss. And they're really going to be, they've been described as sort of game changers. And the next couple of years will be really big on some of these newer medications and the role that they'll play in people's health and in terms of kind of helping women with the disease that is obesity.
It's just so exciting. It's just amazing to see women lose weight. Their blood sugars are better. Their blood pressure is better. Yeah. Their sleep apnea goes away. Karen, I see that you were recently diagnosed. I'm so sorry. There are incredible treatment options. And, we only get this body once. And I think we do what we can to really enjoy this life that we've been given. And it just adds years to people's lives.
Yeah. I feel like we've had a lot of success with some of our medication plans that we've had. And it just feels so great to sort of give women, turn that corner a bit, right? When they're just kind of stuck and they just kind of slowly keep gaining. So it does feel sort of so exciting.
The other day I saw one of our patients who's a teacher up in Rockford and I didn't recognize her. I hadn't seen her for about 6 months and you'd been seeing her a lot. I saw her, I was like, wait, what? Who are you? So it's just really been fun. And she was just beaming. She'd been struggling for years and she was just so excited. So it's just really been fun.
It's really an exciting place. And there's so much nuance to these medicines, not just in terms of like dosing them and working through side effects, but like logistics. Dr. B, I know sits a lot with my staff, just going through the hours on the phone of insurance companies and pharmacies. So, just because one doctor says you're not a candidate, that may not actually be the answer. And so if you're in Michigan or Illinois, please seek us out because we'd love to help you sort of come up with a plan that makes sense. Okay.
Marla.
I'm going to answer this one. So she said, so many stars in Hollywood are taking weight loss drugs and shots when they are 10 pounds overweight. I've gained 15 this year and it's frustrating, but it seems like a quick fix. Marla, you are right. There are some new medicines that are being used for people who maybe don't necessarily have obesity. And they are seeing success with that. It can be really frustrating to gain 15 pounds, particularly if you're in that perimenopausal time. Although it may seem like a quick fix, you got to remember there's parts of our brain that are telling our body that we need to either gain weight or at least hold on to the weight that we have. And of course, you can do a lot of different things, gain muscle mass, right? Cut out sort of extra processed food, really optimize your gut microbiome, really trying to optimize all of your sex hormones and do everything that you can do. But still at the end of the day, there's some people who get to a point that they have this extra 15 pounds and their brain's just not letting it go. And that's when we use medications. Again, there's a lot of nuance to this. So that's a great conversation to have with us and try to help sort out what that would look like. A lot of the times we can review different labs and things to sort of see really if there's any more room for improvement in terms of, dietary changes or muscle mass and gaining muscle mass and those other things that sometimes can be helpful.
Exactly. I love your approach is holistic, right? So it's not one size fits all. It's not one med fits all. It's really having that holistic approach and really understanding your family history. So when you're around the table with your families this Christmas, ask what the family history is. Who had diabetes? who had diabetes when they were pregnant. Hey, mom, did you have diabetes when you were pregnant with me? That can really influence how your body handles sugar and your metabolism over your life. So again, it's looking, at True, we have the time where we get to meet with people, spend the time, really understand their situation. It's not, hey, how are you? Here's a drug.
Yeah.
So it's really understanding the whole situation.
Yeah. I think, and going back to people in Hollywood taking medicines. I mean, it's really interesting. We're really in this very interesting part of time with these weight loss drugs for a long period. We think some things worked, but the percentage of people who they worked for was really low. I was just at, what they call Obesity Week, or kind of the major medical conference where they talk about these new drugs, and people were honestly dumbfounded by some of these medications that are coming out. I don't know. It's going to be a very interesting space over the next couple of years, and we really hope that the folks who need it the most, right, have it available for them, both from an insurance coverage standpoint and just sort of supply. So, we kind of keep working on trying to understand who those people are.
Right. And we just want to be here for all of you so we can stay on top of everything. And when you have questions, we'll have the information and be right at the cutting edge.
Yeah. All right. Number 5, our last question. What is my care plan for the next year? I know it totally can feel so overwhelming, like you have so many other boxes to check off before Christmas comes in the new year. But even thinking about what your health goals are for the next year.
Right. And I think that starts with, okay, what's been hard this year? How do I want to think about my new year differently? What kind of gifts do I want to give myself in terms of taking care of myself going into the next year? So I think this is a great tidbit to stick in the back of our brains as we're wrapping presents or cooking those meals of, okay, how do I want this next year to be?
Yeah. And, Dr. B, we really care about care planning. We talk about it with our patients a lot.
We do. And I just love, last week I had a patient in who was a banker, and I said, how do you like how we approach your health? And she's like, oh my God, it's just like a financial plan. Just like I work with my clients to make a business plan or a financial plan, we're creating health plans that are set with people's goals. And then we work with them along the way to reach that plan. So it's, how do they want to feel? Do they want to have diabetes? What is their plan to prevent heart disease? So it's a lot of fun to have a plan. We have a binder. Every patient gets a binder. And so we can follow right along with her plan.
Yeah. So, well, that's it for our questions. What a fun hour. Holy cow.
I can't believe how that hour went. So we so look forward to hearing from you all in the new year. If you have questions in the future, please feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll get back to you even after, if you're seeing this on a recording. But I wish everyone has an awesome, what a great thing, June.
Oh, June, thank you so much.
I'd love to give myself the gift of you two next year. Oh, thank you so much. We are just so pleased to be here. Thank you, Dr. Egan, for joining True, what now, almost 2 years ago. We're so lucky to have you, and we just look forward to years to come.
Yeah, and Merry Christmas to everyone, and Happy New Year, and Happy Holidays.
Happy holidays.
All right, Merry Christmas.
All right, Merry Christmas.